President Biden's deal with Iran that unlocked $6 billion of Tehran's assets has led to a firestorm of criticism. Could that money go towards nuclear production? That's the big question. Daniel Baldwin has more.
The U.S. and Iran exchanged 5 prisoners on Monday in a deal that saw President Joe Biden unfreeze nearly $6 billion in Iranian assets. These assets were held in South Korean banks ever since former President Donald Trump withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal in 2018. Claire Lopez, founder and president of Lopez Liberty LLC. Claire, the U.S. maintains that this money will be held in restricted accounts to only be used for humanitarian goods, such as medicine, food. But the Iranian president recently said in an interview that this money will be spent how Iran wants to spend it. So who's right?
Right. So here's what happened. The South Koreans bought energy, oil, essentially, from Iran. But because of the sanctions that the Donald Trump administration had put on Iran beginning in 2019, the South Koreans were not transferring that money, that payment to Iran from then until now. So that's the money that's been unfrozen, as you say, nearly $6 billion, which was transferred to banks, or a bank in Qatar, in the Middle East. And from there, the Iranian regime is to be allowed to draw on it. And our Department of State, Secretary Antony Blinken, and others assure us that that money will be used only for humanitarian purposes, for the long-suffering Iranian people. But here's the thing, money's fungible. And were that money to be used, for, let's say, humanitarian purposes, that frees up, another $6 billion some other place that will go to unmistakably, inarguably, will go to nuclear weapons production. It will go to terror support, Islamic jihad groups in the Middle East and further abroad. And it will probably also go towards more drones, Iranian drones, being sent to Russia to be used against the Ukrainian people. So, in a way, the Biden administration there is going to be funding both sides of that war.
Well, it's funny you mention all of that. 45th President Trump, he railed against the deal on Truth Social, writing, "Once you pay, you always pay, and many more hostages will be taken." Obviously, the $6 billion, you say it's fungible. Other money that will be freed up will be going towards that. But do you think President Trump's assessment of the payment, encouraging them to take more hostages, do you believe that assessment is ultimately correct?
Absolutely. President Trump is entirely correct, of course, because he has experience with this. But the price paid at nearly $6 billion amounts to something like $1.2 billion per hostage. What more incentive does that regime need to take more hostages? The price keeps going up.
And not only that, Claire, but the nuclear program that you were referring to. It's sort of like a dark cloud hanging over the relationship between the U.S. and Iran. Iran claims the program is peaceful, but the U.K., France, Germany, they've all recently put out a joint statement criticizing Iran over its uranium enrichment. Is all of this connected from your perspective?
Yes, I do think it is. We don't have that transparency that you mentioned. There isn't transparency. IAEA inspectors have been blocked from visiting sites they want to see. Cameras have been turned off, maybe installed back in again, but not turned on, this sort of thing, at a time when we know that this regime is driving pell-mell for a deliverable nuclear weapon capability. They've admitted to enriching uranium up to 60% enrichment, which is literally, in technological terms, a hop, skip, and a jump away from 90% or above for weapons grade. I don't know why anybody would think, after all these years, that Iran is not on the verge of deploying nuclear weapons, or that it has not already built a number, in my opinion, a small handful probably, of nuclear warheads.
Tremendous insight. Claire Lopez, thank you so much for joining us on One American News. We appreciate your insight.
Thank you.
We'd like to welcome you to our new home for uncensored news and hard-hitting talk shows. If you're tired of cable companies and social media giants chipping away at your most basic and important right, freedom of speech, by shadow banning, demonetizing, censoring, and policing every single one of your posts, then One America News on Locals is just what you've been looking for. Finally, you'll have the freedom to express your point of view and stay connected with like-minded fellow patriots. And the best part is, OAN on Locals is only $5 a month. All of our credible, honest, unbiased reporting, ad-free talk shows, and exclusive content, all at the fraction of the cost of cable. So to watch, just click the join button to get the news you can't get anywhere else.